everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back with another Japanese deep dive into some more Banmei Takahashi, as mentioned in my previous video in terms of New Love in Tokyo, which I absolutely loved and I thought was excellent. I did check out one of his very short films, essentially an hour and 2 minutes, if you call it that, basically like a small kind of pink film, one of the ones he was doing at the beginning of his career, and I really wanted to dive into the only one that I could find to actually check out, which was called Wolf Running His Sex. And it's as mentioned, only a really short film. It's only an hour and 2 minutes, but within that hour and 2 minutes, I actually got a lot out of it, and I thought it was quite impressive. I definitely think this could be added on to like a V Cinema set, even though it's not part of a V Cinema collection. I definitely think it could be incorporated within an additional feature, maybe with something like a Radiance film or something along those lines in terms of what Arrow does. I really do hope they manage to find some of these and restore them in HD, which is something that 88 are doing at the moment in terms of the kind of the Roman porno and the pink movies, Japanese films they're really diving into. This is the earliest of Banmei Takahashi's kind of career that I managed to check out, directing kind of films that I really wanted to check out to see what his early style was in terms of leading into something like A New Love in Tokyo and, you know, the kind of Neo Champion movies, things like that. And he's been, as mentioned before, very experimental, not sticking with one genre, but always got something to say, always got some sort of clever satire or commentary, or using the kind of the tools that he's been given and the requirements he's also been told to do in terms of the ends justify the means. And with this one in particular, the premise of itself is actually quite kind of shocking, but it's also got something to say, and I really appreciate that. The basic kind of premise is that typical kind of pink movie. Essentially, you've got a man which is living in an apartment building complex. He's completely nude, he's living in trash, he's got food in the fridge, like meat, raw meat, and just kind of whatever's in there. And he has no social real interactions necessarily. He does very basic kind of labor during the day in terms of construction work. And it's kind of like this kind of weird situation where he's just kind of waiting by just someone to pick him up to do kind of, you know, turning stones into little stones essentially, or kind of that kind of construction site based work. And throughout the day, he's just basically going around being essentially a caveman, a beast, an animal, and just, you know, assaulting people or basically raping women. Just once he sees a woman thing, I want that, and he just goes ahead and does it essentially. And, you know, to various different effects in terms of that desiring kind of, you know, the hunting kind of, even to a point where one character in terms of a woman basically says, just go ahead and do it, just don't hurt me, don't hurt my face. And she's willing to kind of be, you know, accepting the situation, and he just kind of walks off. He likes the kind of the hunt and the, obviously the squeamish and this whole situation, you know, he's kind of doing to these women essentially. And, you know, that's what he wants. He uses them and basically walks away. He doesn't kill them, he doesn't kind of abuse them, he just basically uses them as a piece of meat, literally, like he does with his actual meat in his fridge, and like the kind of things on his floor within his complex kind of a flat. And he just, you know, repeats the cycle over and over again. He's just, now what's interesting about that, he's using it for one, the pink nature of the requirements of making a kind of a film like that, essentially to sell to a market, to sell to a studio, whatever you want to call it. But he's using that as a backdrop to something much more clever. And he's essentially doing a sort of backdoor kind of Door movie before he did Door, and it's really kind of mind-blowing and baffling that he does more in this hour and 2 minute kind of short, essentially this short film, than he does in his actual fucking Door movie. He has more of a clever commentary and satire in this film than he does in his own actual fucking film, and it's really bizarre to me. It's really kind of baffling, because one of the jokes and the kind of the back and forth that keeps happening is that constant salesmen keep knocking at the door and sort of open the door somehow anyway, because the door's open or unlocked or whatever, and they keep pitching him or trying to sell him stuff, religion, products, kind of lifestyle savings. And you got various different people and degrees of people coming in, trying to talk to him, trying to sell him something, trying to like, hey, I've got a proposition for you, I've got a briefcase, and I've got something to sell you. It is capitalism coming at you, forcing it down your throat, and basically trying to kind of sell you something that you do not want to buy or are not interested in. And this person is completely making on trash and listens and does not give a fuck. He's basically saying nothing. He's just kind of listening to what's been told, and they just walk off. And you get this kind of rinse and repeat throughout this little short film, and it's really goddamn funny, and it's really clever and how it does it. And it's interesting because one of the kind of the themes of the film is that this character is obviously doing this rinse and repeat cycle, and obviously he's getting away with it. He's raping these women, and he's basically kind of doing this back and forth, and he's living a very simple life. All this going on while using the unofficial license and probably not allowed to use tracks from, I want to say, David Bowie or Led Zeppelin. I can't remember who the music is done by, but I'll put something in the kind of the image here to kind of officially say who it is. But they use tracks throughout the entire little short, and I definitely think this is one of the reasons why it might not get a HD release, it might not get a physical release, because of that unofficial license. Now, it's very much not an uncommon thing that Asian cinema kind of uses kind of unofficial licensed music or rip-off tracks. Hong Kong cinema does it all the time, with various kind of really bad degrees of using the Halloween score and the Jaws score and Terminator and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that Japanese cinema also did the same thing, using tracks, probably without permission, probably just kind of sneaking into their kind of little short, putting it into kind of very small cinemas or home release, and not really paying anyone's, copyright kind of, dues essentially. So it's saying that it's used to a very good degree, and it's also adds to the kind of the social kind of, comedy that the film is trying to go for in terms of this capitalism, always on your face, always on your door, and you're just living your very simple kind of, basic kind of life that you're living. And the film introduces a woman in the film, which is, doing the kind of the 70s kind of, clubs and various degrees of different men, and she's not interesting, and even when she is, she's just kind of bored and she's just there kind of thing. And it's just that very kind of, everyone's got an angle, everyone wants to sell us stuff, everyone's trying to pitch you something, and even the characters that she's meeting in the nightclub is trying to sell us something. This kind of theme of someone's trying on an angle, got something to sell. And she eventually does meet this kind of beast character, we don't know who he is, and essentially kind of form a kind of a weird kind of connection. She adopts that kind of lifestyle that he's living, and they sort of have this kind of primal kind of mating and kind of, connection with each other. She joins him in this kind of filth and trash, and she's completely nude as well, and she's eating meat in the fridge, and she basically adopts that lifestyle because she's just searching for something quite simple, something quite honest, and something that is unexpressive without words, without selling something. And it isn't until our main character, this kind of like, this beast homeless man, whatever you want to call him, I mean, he's not really homeless, he's obviously got an apartment somehow, don't really know how. Anyway, he basically does something towards the end of the short, which I'll leave to it anyway, that basically is a big no-no. Despite the fact he's been raping and hurting people and various kind of different degrees, he does something that is against the social norms, against the kind of the status quo, and everyone chases after him in the street to basically get him and stop him, essentially. And it is capitalism, it is kind of the social order going after him, despite him doing all this other stuff, prior. It is really, really funny, and it is really clever how this little short demonstrates all that within an hour movie. And it's something that I wish was in the fucking Dawn movie he was going to do anyway. It's just really bizarre to me how little he did with that material, and despite the same kind of salesman kind of characters, which he really doesn't like salesmen apparently, they seem to have a bit of an issue. It's weird how he didn't do that within that film. It's really bizarre to me. The film is littered with really subtle dark humor. Some of it might work, some of it might not, but there is some really cool scenes. One in particular where basically this character just walks into frame where two characters are talking about various kind of back and forths, and you've got a man and a woman, obviously in a relationship, whatever, and basically the character just kind of walks into frame in the middle of them, and he's just kind of listening to what they're saying, and the film hard cuts to both of them being knocked out, already on his back, and essentially he's going to do what he does to this woman. This is the woman that basically kind of accepted, hey, just go ahead and do it, and just don't hurt me, don't hurt my face, whatever kind of thing, and he just walks off because there's no through on the hunt, there's no conquest to be made there. If you're willing to accept what's going on, he's not interested, so he just walks off. But I thought that was a really funny little sequence of the fact he just kind of walks in, lets these characters talk, and then hard cuts to them being kind of taken off. That's really funny. That's really great. Short, simple, creative, to the point, and definitely worth checking out part of his kind of filmography. So hopefully you'll get a chance to see it down the line. And we're looking forward to seeing more of this director and his kind of rest of his films that I can get access to. So what are your thoughts and impressions on this short film? Have you seen it? Please comment down below. Have you seen any of his other kind of short pink films? Any ones you recommend? Please comment down below. So in time, guys, Amphlett Reviews. So yeah.